Hello friends, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. This is a ranking video, but this is unlike any other ranking video we've ever done on this channel. We're going into the depths this time because England have a whole plethora of amazing strikers right now. But where do they rank in order? I'm going to be ranking in this video 9 of the top English strikers in the Premier League, and we're going to be mixing up the stats with the Allcott eye test to find out where your favourite striker ranks in that list. This video has taken a lot of work and we're getting close to 80k, so if you are appreciating what we're trying to do here, trying to kind of explore new ideas, which is what you're going to see in this video, then please do hit that subscribe button. It makes so much of a difference, and let's hit 5,000 likes again. Here are the 9 strikers. Now, one player that we're not going to be talking about is Marcus Rashford. The reason I've left Marcus Rashford out of this is because he's playing on the left wing or he's playing on the right wing a lot at the moment. And although he is a wonderful player and bloody good egg, I feel like I wanted to just focus on pure strikers who are doing only that. They're playing up front. They're playing as a striker. That's it. So that's why Marcus Rashford isn't on this list. It's not because he's not good enough. Of course, that's obvious. But what I've got here are the top scorers in terms of the English goal scorers in the Premier League this season. And the 9 that we're going to be talking about are Patrick Bamford, Dominic Calvert Lewin, Harry Kane, Jamie Vardy, Ollie Watkins, Callum Wilson, Danny Ings, Tammy Abraham, and Michail Antonio. And what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be dividing it into 3 categories. Within those 3 categories, we're going to have a look at some stats, and then we're going to rank each of these players from 9 to 1. 9 points being the best striker in terms of those rankings of those metrics, and 1 being the worst. And then at the end of all of that, we will have the final rankings of the best 9 strikers in the Premier League right now. A conclusive lowdown and ranking system on this video. So without further ado, let's get into the shooting stats. Player shooting. This is what you can see right now, and you can see that I've got highlighted goals per 90. That's what I'm going to do in this video as well, because some players have played more games than others. We know they're all fantastic strikers, but the fairest thing to do is to make it per 90. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing in this one. And before you ask me, it's FBref. The website is FBref for all of these stats if you want to go and check them out, okay? So what we've done is we've had a look at the following metrics when it comes to shooting. Goals per 90, non-penalty XG per 90. So that means the amount of expected goals that you should score without penalties. Goals minus XG per 90. So what that means this time is the amount of goals that you've scored in comparison to what people thought you were going to score in terms of your XG per 90. And then the final one, conversion rate, which on FBref is seen as goals, shots on target. So every shot you have on target, how many of those are going in the goal per 90, okay? So let's start with the first one, goals per 90, and as you can see, Dominic Calvert Lewin is top of the tree for this one, and when we're looking at the shooting stats, it's amazing how far he has come as a player. He really has gone to the next level. His XG for goals per game is 0.65, only just a little bit more than Jamie Vardy. He also dominates when it comes to non-penalty goals minus XG goals. The reason for this, of course, is that he doesn't take any of the penalties. So he's way out in front of this metric when we run through them as well. Next in line, though, of course, when we're looking at the goals per 90, what I thought was really interesting was that Jamie Vardy is in second place. But if we look at the other metrics, be it goals, non-penalty XG goals per 90, he's down the bottom of the 9 in that one. Let's have a look at that. He's actually right down the bottom of the whole thing. I've got to scroll to find him. He is right down the bottom. And the big reason for that is because he's scored 12 goals this season, but he scored 6 penalties this season. And Jamie Vardy's goal conversion rate is actually really poor. It's surprising. In previous seasons, it's never been as bad as it is here. 0.32. You can see there. It's bottom of the pile, bottom of all 9 of them so far. And in previous seasons, this is the worst he's had in terms of conversion rate since they won the league back in 2016. Since then, he's normally on plus 44%. So there is a possible idea that Jamie Vardy, as brilliant as he's been over the years and continues to be, is maybe starting to slow down a bit. There's one person who's out in front. It's Callum Wilson, who's scoring with every other shot that he gets on target. is going in the back of the net. Another really interesting one here is Tammy Abraham. Tammy Abraham is actually a really consistent performer per 90 for Chelsea. Last season, his conversion rate was 0.43, sorry. This season, it's 0.46, and he's pretty in line with his XG as well this season as well. So Tammy Abraham is one of those players that we'll be looking at and we'll be thinking, he's not very good, is he? But actually, he's a very consistent performer. Danny Ings is one of the players that you would expect to be really strong in the shooting aspects of the game. But actually, he struggles in a lot of these metrics. His goals per 90, he's the second worst for that one. And his conversion rate, which was 66% last season, has gone down to 33%. There might be an idea that that's changed because his average distance in terms of his shots has got longer. It was about 13 yards, is now 15 yards. So he's getting less opportunities closer to goal. The one that he does kind of come back to the forefront on is his goals minus XG per 90. Dominic Calvert Lewin, as we said, up there when it's not involving penalties, he's right up there, which is amazing. He's had a fantastic season for Everton this season. But Danny Ings is in second place. So despite the goals that he's scoring and despite the conversion rate that he's got this season, in terms of the chances that he's getting, he's actually taking those opportunities and then some. Speaking of struggling, Ollie Watkins can only get up to 6th in any of these metrics in comparison to the other guys on the list. Someone who doesn't struggle with this one is Antonio. Antonio, top of the non-penalty XG per 90, which is interesting to see. So at the end of stage 1, rankings are as follows. Dominic Calvert Lewin in first place. He gets himself 9 points. Tammy Abraham in second position, which is really surprising. Didn't expect to see that at all when it comes to his finishing, because I think we're expecting him to do better in the next stage. Third up, Harry Kane looking solid there. Bamford in fourth. Then joint fifth, Callum Wilson and Antonio. And then down the bottom, you've got Vardy, which is really, really surprising for me. 8th is Danny Ings and 9th is Ollie Watkins. Right, moving on to team play, and I've got 6 elements that I've looked at when we're ranking these 9 players and giving them their points. Assists per 90. Then I've done expected assists per 90, which I think is important because you can make a great pass, and if they don't finish it off, you don't get an assist for it. So it'll be interesting to see if it correlates one to the other. Pressures, the defensive side of the game is so important now. Progressive carries. Do these players, do they get a hold of the ball and they're able to bring it up the pitch? Important one. Aerial duels, one. Something to sort of highlight the importance of these target men as well, because if you are a complete forward, you need to be able to be big and strong enough to turn me on. And pass completion. So with this list of 9, I think there was one player that I really expected to come to the fore, and that was Harry Kane, and he really did. I mean, top of the tree out of all 9 of them when it comes to assists per 90, when it comes to expected assists per 90. His expected assists actually is 4.9, and his assists are actually 11, which I think highlights maybe that he's overdoing it a little bit, and Son's been a big part of that. But his passing ability is there for all to see this season. A little bit lower down when it comes to the pressures, so not putting the same amount of work rate in that, but maybe that's down to Spurs being quite passive. But what I thought was interesting, and you might not be able to see it too well here, but in terms of possession, progressive carries, the fact that he is top of that, above the likes of Antonio, the likes of Ollie Watkins, the likes of Callum Wilson as well, teams that are like looking to move the ball up quite a lot. I thought that really said a lot about how much Harry Kane does for the team. And again, maybe highlights how they play as well. 4.3 progressive carries per 90 is something that's really, really impressive. And Harry Kane in all of these, I think his worst was 6th was with pressures, but overall he was very, very strong in this. I was also surprised to learn that Jamie Vardy, his assists are actually a lot better than we probably thought. We feel like he's just a proper goal poacher, but every single season he actually offers up quite a few assists, and he's second on the list when it comes to assists per 90 and expected assists per 90. Pressures, he was right down the bottom. It does highlight what Brendan Rodgers is saying, that he doesn't get him working as hard as he used to. With Leeds' style of play, I wasn't surprised that Patrick Bamford was at the top when it came to pressures. What I was a little bit surprised was that his passing stats and his pass completion was actually right up there. 76.1% pass completion. That's like a midfielder's pass completion. Ollie Watkins, who surprised in a few of these as well. I think this was the one for him. It was the team play, and that's what he offers so much more maybe than the goal scoring. Ollie Watkins was top 3 actually for pressures, progressive carries and for pass completion, which just highlights how much he brings to Aston Villa this season. We also got what we were expected in terms of aerial duels, one with Tammy Abraham winning 58.7% of his aerial duels, and then of course Dominic Calvert Lewin next in line with 46.6% 0.4% of his aerial duels. And actually, it was Dominic Calvert Lewin who really disappointed when it came to the team play. Dominic Calvert Lewin is yet to create an assist this season in the league so far, and he finished last in assists per 90, obviously, last in expected assists per 90 as well, second to last in pressures this season, third to last in progressive carries as well. And it was just the aerial duels and the pass completion that saved him a little bit. So really up for grabs here, because on this second one, the rankings were very, very different. Harry Kane finished top, followed by Patrick Bamford. Then in third place, Ollie Watkins. Fourth place was Callum Wilson, who actually, with 10 goals and 5 assists, has been very, very well-rounded for Newcastle this season. Then you had Vardy and Danny Ings in fifth place. And the bottom two were Abraham and Calvert Lewin, which was surprising. Two players that we thought, that's 60% of what they bring. It's not just the goals, but actually, when it comes to these metrics in modern football, they were felt wanting a little bit. Stage 3. Allcott time. Okay, here we go. Eye test. Right up, they're lined up. We're picking teams. I'm captain. Who do I pick? I'm literally just going to look at this list and go for it. So in last place out of this list, I'm going to go with Ollie Watkins. Just because I feel like he is still missing a few of those chances. I feel like he's one of those players that he's just so young and he's a little bit green at the moment in comparison to the other names on that list. I think he needs another year to almost elevate his confidence even higher, to be 100% sure that in his own mind that he knows that he's good enough to beat goalkeepers in this division. And I think his goals will skyrocket next season. I see it happening. But I think this season, he's the worst of the bunch, in my opinion. I'm going to go with Callum Wilson. The problem for Callum Wilson, in my eyes, is the fact that he's playing for Newcastle United, because all his numbers suggest that he's good enough to be a top 6 player. That said, 4 penalties so far from the goals that he scored. I think that does play a part and helps with the numbers. And in terms of that percentage that we use in terms of the goal involvements of Newcastle's goals, that's because Newcastle aren't scoring many goals. He almost needs that move to a top 6 side that's playing exciting football to really truly understand just how good he can be, because he's bang on the money with his XG for Newcastle. So maybe the sky is the limit for him. But can he deal with that pressure as well? I don't know. And because I don't know, that's why he's in 8th position for me. Abraham is that focal point, but I think what these stats have shown is that in terms of the ability to press, a guy who's 6'4", that's obviously a difficult element for him. For me, he's someone that I think to be able to bring him on in a game when you may be struggling, to be that focal point is huge. But to put him above some of these other players above him, I think they're offering a little bit more on both sides of the pitch. I'm going to go Bamford. Bamford goes above those guys before because I think his work rate is insane. I think what he's offering in a team that is incredibly unique is again insane. His finishing means that he's a little bit lower than these other names, but I've been so impressed with Patrick Bamford this year. Danny Ings, I can't gloss over last season. I can't forget how great he was last season. To get 22 goals in 38 games is madness. He lacks that element of flair sometimes, and I think that might be hurting him a little bit. But when I see him, I get that same kind of vibe of a young Robbie Fowler. But he's kind of drifting towards the older Robbie Fowler because of the injuries that he's got. If he'd have stayed fit throughout from Burnley to Liverpool and onwards, he really, really would be. He would be right up there. Next up, I'm going with Antonio. I just think Antonio brings so much to a football team. And do you know what? When I was thinking about it, I was thinking, God, I wish he was Scottish. Because he is the perfect striker for Scotland. A player who's going to do the job of two strikers. You guys know, I've spoken about him enough on this channel. My video on West Ham, which I put out very recently, where I talk about him and what he offers and how much better he is than Haller, that is imprinted on my brain. And I just think he offers so much to most football teams. When I'm thinking about England, I'm starting to think now, like, is he what England need? But in terms of this list, in terms of someone who can score goals and can be so incredible in terms of carrying a team up the pitch, Antonio's got to be right up there because I think he actually has got it all. Dominic Calvert Lewin, 48 games, 9 goals without Ancelotti. Ancelotti has made him explode because now he's played 35 games under Ancelotti and scored 17 goals. His XG is the best it's been in 4 seasons, and I see it continuing in the same mould of Antonio, that he can, in my opinion, do it all. But again, those stats on his team play would suggest otherwise. Maybe that's down to the likes of James Rodriguez being involved in Richarlison, that you want him in the box so that you can get those crosses in from Dean, and actually is a better hold-up man than those stats suggest. But I think I love him. I think he's a great player, and that's why I'm putting him third on this list. Final two are Jamie Vardy and Harry Kane, and it's experience, right? If you pick them as your players, you know they're going to score goals. In second place, I'm putting Jamie Vardy. The reason I'm putting Jamie Vardy there is because I think his all-round play, although it's so different to Harry Kane and his ability to sort of drive him beyond, in terms of being a complete forward, Harry Kane is just streaks ahead. And I think this exercise in itself has just highlighted how much he brings to that Spurs team. You see it in black and white, numbers on a screen. It's there. It's there in the eye test as well. He's got absolutely everything that a striker needs to have. Jamie Vardy is a lovely striker to have in your team as well. And so when I look at that list, he's above everyone else. Because his goal scoring record is there for all to see, and it's just the strength of character of both of them, I think, that puts them right at the top. That's such a huge thing for me when it comes to strikers. But I'm going to go with Harry Kane as the number one striker. I don't think you guys would be surprised by that. So he's getting the full 9 points. So just so you know that it's fair, you can see it right in front of me. This is what I mean when it's taken a lot of time. There's a key right here which highlights 9 points to 1 point depending on the rankings. So if you see a 9, that means they were top of the list when it came to those metrics, down to 1. And it's interesting to see that if you start on the left-hand side of both of them, so goals per 90, or on the one below that, assists per 90, where I've gone from 9 down to 1, it doesn't always correlate for the other bits and pieces, which just highlights how nuanced football is, which is a great thing, right? So the total amount of points of that one, of shooting, 9 to 1, as you can see on the right-hand column of both of these, and then of team play of both of these again. Add that together with... Are you still here? You actually still here? Add that together with my rankings in terms of 1 to 9 on the eye test, and we have our final rankings, which are as follows. Ta-da! So you can see the points there. So in 9th place, Danny Ings, according to these three. We've got 2 elements of stats, not just about the goals, not just about the team play, not just about the eye test, a mix of all three. Danny Ings in 9th place. Then joint 6th place, I've got 3 players. Watkins, Jamie Vardy, and Antonio. Abraham. Really surprised how high Abraham is in this list. I bet if you'd done a list right at the start, I bet he wouldn't have been 5th on a lot of people's lists. But in this, he is according to his performances per 90. So he's in 19th place. Then Callum Wilson, also a bit of a surprise maybe this season, in 4th position. Bamford in 3rd position. Calvert Lewin in 2nd. And Harry Kane, top of the table in 1st place with 26 points. So there you have it. That is my definitive list on England strikers and trying to rank them as fairly as possible. If you have enjoyed this video, please, because I'm about to pass out. I've been working on this all day just to try and find something that felt a little bit conclusive but also had a bit of a mix. So if you do appreciate it, then please do me a bloody favour and hit the subscribe button and like button. If you enjoyed this video, then there's lots of videos like this. We've got the tier list, we've got breaking down different clubs, and we've also got a Euros tier list on its way very, very soon. So make sure you've hit the notification bell because that bad boy will be live. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. I'm off to go to sleep.